Jameis carry the torch from Drew Brees?
Yes, he can carry the torch from Drew Brees. We, or I, never questioned the talent of Jameis Winston. It was only the maturity. And what I've seen of him in New Orleans, particularly this preseason, is that he is a changed man. We're not getting any more of the eating the winning fingers. We're not stealing crab legs. We're not having the wacky, emotional, up with people, rah-rah, motivational speeches to the team. None of that. We are seeing a composed Jameis Winston. He has played some fantastic football, and in times past, we would have seen him geek out over some of the throws that he had to Marquez Callaway. Instead, we saw a guy who ran down the field, gave him a little dap, and then was back to the sideline and back to business. When Sean Payton stopped him after he had a 3-and-out and had something to say to him, he wasn't talking back. He wasn't making excuses. Eye to eye, listened to what had to be said, kept it moving. That is a different Jameis Winston than we have seen in the past. And I think one of the things that we sometimes forget is that Drew Brees wasn't Drew Brees before he got to New Orleans. And we're now seeing Jameis Winston go through the same evolution. If you look at the first 4 years of Drew Brees' career and you compare it to the first 4 years of Jameis Winston actually was a more efficient, effective quarterback overall if we're counting TDs and interceptions. So I'm seeing a Jameis Winston who's under the guidance of a Sean Payton, who is learning how to be efficient, how to make the right plays. And by the way, the last time we saw Drew Brees, it wasn't the gold standard of Drew Brees. Was he still efficient? Yes, as much as ever. Was he as productive? Not nearly as productive as the heyday of Drew Brees. And ultimately, was he dynamic? No. Lowest yardage per game that he produced since his last year in San Diego. So can Jameis Winston, I guess the question is, in carrying the torch, can Jameis Winston get them to a playoff berth? Yeah, I think he can. And essentially, that's what carrying the torch at this point from Drew Brees means.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rick. I think you made a lot of great points there. I like the comparisons there with those two stats in particular. He can carry the torch. And in fact, when you think about what Jameis Winston has represented, he has represented high achievement, winning the Heisman in college, being an overall top draft pick in the league. He's just turned the ball over. He just hasn't been. He's worked to be a leader, but I do believe that there were maybe some. He needed some time to grow up, is what we'll say. Sometimes failure can be the best teacher and the best hardening and maturing of a person. You go through adversity, you go through trials, you go through tribulations, and there's a moment in time, do you decide to give up on yourself, or do you sink in and dig in and find yourself? It looks as though by all of the off-season videos that we've seen of Jameis Winston, all of the training that he did during the course of last season, no complaining, no crazy sound bites, no anything that would lead you to believe that Jameis Winston has taken more of a step backwards in his career than actually regrouping and taking steps forward. They always say the setback is the setup if you're approaching things the right way. Jameis Winston, can he carry the torch? Just 8 QBs ever to reach 5,000 yards in a single passing season. You know one of those 8? Drew Brees. Since 2015, Jameis Winston has the 11th most passing yards at 19,812 yards. That's a gang of yardage. He's 11th most in passing TDs as well at 121. You know, only Peyton Manning is higher than that in the history in the first 5 seasons of their career. In the history. So if anything, if Sean Payton and Pete Carmichael Jr. can actually get him to a place, which it seems they have, where he's more cerebral and more aware of why he's turning the ball over. If they have actually quarterback whispered Jameis Winston, it's never been about talent. It's never been about what he's capable of doing. It's been all about between the ears with Jameis, and is he going to be that guy between the ears, not physically. It looks as though he's taking that step forward, J-Mac. And so to me, not only is he on a trajectory where he could take that torch, he might be able to put that torch down and pick up a Jameis Winston torch.
Boy, I love the optimism, guys. I mean, geez, LaVar's gassed up. Man, Jameis Winston, he's taking that torch.
Here we go.
Ric Bucher. Oh, boy, Rick, talking a lot of nonsense. Like the last time we saw Drew Brees, he was not very good. Let me take a quick timeout, little 30-second timeout, and remind you guys, what did we see from Jameis Winston the last time he was a starter? Because, last year he was in New Orleans, and Sean Payton was like, nah, you're not ready. Give me Taysom Hill. Jameis Winston, starter in Tampa, 2019. He wasn't throwing to bums. He wasn't throwing to plumbers and bartenders. He was throwing to Mike Evans and Godwin, two elite receivers.
And safeties.
Jameis, 30-30 club, first member in NFL history. That's 30 interceptions, along with 33 touchdowns. He led the league. You know what? He actually set an NFL record with 7 pick sixes. His final pass of the season was a pick six in overtime. Say goodbye, Jameis. It was over. Guys, I don't know why you're so optimistic about Jameis Winston and this new, kinder, gentler Jameis Winston. Oh, he's so mature now. You don't even mention he got LASIK in the offseason. I thought that would be the lead for you, Rick. Jameis can now see again. We're all excited for him. Just let's look at the reality. When Hall of Fame quarterbacks step down, teams take a big step back. I mean, you can look through history. John Elway walks away from Denver. They lose 4 more games. Peyton Manning leaves Denver. They lose more games. Look at Tom Brady last year. Hall of Famer, leaves New England. They crater. It is a fact. Look back 20, 25 years in the league. When a Hall of Fame quarterback leaves, the team struggles. And this idea that Jameis Winston, who, by the way, will not be throwing to Emmanuel Sanders, will not be throwing to Jared Cook, will not be throwing to Michael Thomas, who's going to start the season on the sideline because of surgery. I mean, LaVar, you look at this Saints wide receiver depth chart, you're looking at guys that you probably don't even know exist. They had a combined, the starters at wide receiver, 6 touchdowns last season. I'm just saying, right, this is real talk right now. If anything happens to Alvin Kamara, this Saints team is probably going to have a top 5 or 6 pick in the draft. Okay? This is not about Jameis. He's not a very good quarterback. I don't want to hear about his Heisman. I think LaVar was still in the league when Jameis Winston won his Heisman. Okay? Like, Ric Bucher was at another network. I wasn't even on the West Coast. That's how long ago it was that Jameis was very good.
I was not
He's just
playing
not
in
a
the
good
league
quarterback,
in 13,
okay? I'm sorry, Rick. I hate to, start off on a negative note here to start the show. I know I'm Mr. Optimistic, but the fact of the matter is Jameis Winston's just not a good quarterback.
Rick, that's usually you.
Yeah,
I know, that's you.
What J-Mac did, that's usually you, Rick.
Yeah. I decided to be a ray of optimism and light today.
Jeez.
But I have reason. You're talking about Jameis Winston with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2 years ago. And yes, threw 30 interceptions. It also takes a tremendous amount of talent to throw 33 touchdowns. The 30-30 exclusive club goes both ways. You have to be both good and erratic in order to get there. And he's had a year of discipline in the New Orleans system in order to change. And he wouldn't be starting right now if he hadn't changed, if Sean Payton hadn't seen that change. And I look at his age, 25, 26 years old, and coming into the league at 21 and not having any guidance, or at least not the right kind, allowing him to go his own way. You take an immature guy with a ton of talent and you let them set their own course. It's not surprising what happened to Jameis Winston. But I always believed in that talent. And as I said, if we're talking about picking up and carrying the torch, we have to look at what Drew Brees was the last time we saw him. Still very good, but not dynamic in the way that Jameis Winston was. And you're talking about the wide receivers that are not there, the big names that are not there. You're right. You know what? Marquez Callaway has shown me something, and they've already developed a chemistry together. So there's no reason that Callaway and Winston can't be the new dynamic duo for the New Orleans Saints. And if this team was terrible otherwise, then I would say, yeah, you know what? You're asking too much of Jameis Winston. You're asking him to carry too much. But this is a top 10 defense. You mentioned Kamara, and and then you look at the rest of the team, and there's the potential to do what they've done, which essentially get to the playoffs. I just don't see that as too much. Now, I will say, Jameis Winston saying, I would love to carry that torch. Jameis Winston saying, I've worked harder than any other quarterback. I'm like, dude, don't get over your skis. Let's just be happy that you are where you are and you're getting the opportunity, which he has said he is grateful for it. But all that said, I'm not going to hold that against him because, one, I am going to be a ray of optimism, and two, Jameis Winston has demonstrated over the last 2 years that he is a different Jameis Winston. And I believe that guys ultimately can change and mature.
You know, I don't think we have to go so deep into trying to justify Jameis Winston in Tampa. They did not, that team struggled. That wasn't just Jameis Winston with his struggling interceptions.
Yeah. They struggled so much they won the Super Bowl the year he left. Yeah, they struggled a lot, LaVar.
They weren't good. They were not good.
They were a game under 500, and then they win the Super Bowl. The nucleus was there, LaVar.
Well, we could say that the nucleus
how many additional pieces did they add?
But to say that you get rid of Jameis Winston and that's the reason why they were able to go win the Super Bowl, I think that that's irresponsible to put that over national television. To say that Jameis Winston leaving is the reason why they were able to get to the Super Bowl, I don't buy that. He had more than one, what was it, 3 head coaches? 3 head coaches in Tampa Bay, J-Mac. Let me ask you, have you ever had to overcome multiple coaching changes at the pro level, J-Mac?
I've seen my Jets struggle through many coaches, but Bruce Arians was there when Jameis threw 30 interceptions and 7 pick sixes.
How many years had Bruce Arians been his coach?
That was his first year.
Okay. So the point I'm making here is you cannot put on Jameis Winston that this team that was underperforming was totally Jameis Winston's fault. In fact, if you look at the 30 interceptions and you look at some of those interceptions that took place, I'm not going to sit here and try to fight and argue about 30 interceptions. What I'm going to argue about is, could everybody have done better? Could there have been better leadership? Could there have been better development of Jameis Winston? Jameis had a ton of pressure coming out of college. He was looked at as one of those can't-miss prospects as well when he came out. Had a national championship and looked at as a guy that could revive a Tampa Bay team that hadn't been good since Brad Johnson. Okay, so to me, when I look at Jameis Winston having several different coaches in a short amount of time, if you understand how much the stability for a quarterback position, let alone every other position on that team, a quarterback's position, and that's why Sean Payton is such a great tool and such the answer to this situation for Jameis Winston. That's a consummate professional. That is a leader of men. He shows guys how to lead. He shows them with his mentality how to approach what's taking place.
Okay, wait, LaVar, can I ask a question about Sean Payton?
Sure.
Okay, if Sean Payton is so awesome and Jameis Winston is so mature and so different, why did we have to wait midway through the preseason for Jameis to win the starting job over Taysom Hill, who Sean Payton gave a lot of money
That's
to?
protocol.
Who Sean Payton gave a lot of money to and believes in.
That's proper protocol, for one. You don't want to sit there and give anybody any type of strategic advantages by saying what you're going to say so early in a preseason. That's first and foremost. Secondly, Taysom Hill was not paid to be the starting quarterback, J-Mac.
He makes more money than Jameis.
Taysom Hill was paid in hopes to be the guy that he has continued to be. He proved that he deserved that contract by playing the way that he played behind Drew Brees, not playing as the starting quarterback. He earned that money based off of what he did and what the potential of what he represented to this team meant moving forward. They brought Teddy Bridgewater in to be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. When they replaced him, they did not replace him with the attempt of making Taysom Hill the starter. They brought Jameis Winston in, and that made it okay for them not to have to pay the type of money that they were going to pay Teddy Bridgewater. You get an opportunity at a low budget cost to develop Jameis Winston and see if you can develop him And if you can, you bought that time by having Drew Brees for one more season and Taysom Hill in his paid role position of utility backup quarterback. And if Jameis Winston proves out, then you do exactly what you're doing right now. You now introduce him into the fold as the starting quarterback. That's really all that took place here. And that's very strategically sound and wise of someone who's playing chess, not checkers, in Sean Payton.
Right.